So I'm from an organisation called Corporate European Observatory, CEO. We're a research organisation that tries to expose corporate lobbying, mainly at the European level. Me personally, I work on the oil and gas industry, and that's sort of what brought me here, because the oil and gas industry promotes hydrogen at the moment, including so-called green hydrogen. We'll get onto it later. I've been looking at it for the last 5 years or so, and looking into green hydrogen took me and my organisation, my colleagues, to South Africa to meet the communities that were confronting green hydrogen projects, were fighting back. And one of those groups was called Makua, the Mining Affected Communities United in Action, who are fighting Anglo American's platinum mine in South Africa, called Mogalakwena. And whilst talking to them, running a workshop with them, I was hearing how Anglo American is using green hydrogen to greenwash its mining activities. So yeah, worth saying, I'm not from those communities, so I can't talk on their behalf, but I'm going to try and do justice to some of the work they've been doing. I'm humbled to be on a panel of those communities who are living this as a daily reality, and yeah, great, very touching and powerful stories. So I'll try and bring some of the stories I heard whilst in South Africa to here. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to say is going to be based on two reports. One, the scramble for hydrogen in South Africa, that I was involved in producing by my organisation, and the other is by Makua, SOMO, a Dutch NGO, and Action Aid Netherlands, called Hydrogen and Hidden Harm, specifically on the Mogalakwena mine. So the next slide, please. Mogalakwena mine is the world's largest open pit platinum mine, owned by Anglo American. So the communities of Mokopane and Mapela live around it, and they face decades of systematic discrimination and suffering at the hands of Anglo American. So this is from the Makua. You can read what it says. And there's all sorts of horrendous things going on. But in June 2024, the South African Human Rights Commission reported that Anglo American was violating the rights of residents in the surrounding villages, including contaminating the water, the air and the land, resulting in significant impacts for the locals. And one of the key things is, in fact, access to water. It's been a long-standing issue, in part because of the Apartheid regime. So under the Apartheid regime, they provided access, infrastructure for white communities, a majority of white communities, and the mining industry. But the black communities who lived around the mines did not get that infrastructure and those provisions, and so did not get access to clean water, or little access to clean water. So Anglo American, as we heard, they have they have CSR, corporate social responsibility. They claim that they care about people, don't they? So they have what's called a social and labour plan, and in this social and labour plan, they said that they are providing clean and sustainable water for the communities around Mogalakwena. So Makua in 2024 went door to door. They did what's called a social audit and talked to the residents. They're based in this community as well, so they talked to their neighbours, talked to residents, and the reality was that, in fact, 70% of the population did not have access to clean drinking water, and that it was commonplace for people to be consuming contaminated water, knowing that you don't have another choice. People are, as we heard, digging their own wells, other things. And to say South Africa is already a water-scarce region, that region in particular is very water-scarce, and with climate change, that is getting a lot worse, a hell of a lot worse through droughts. And the mining company, not just is it using and diverting huge amounts of water, it's polluting what's left. So it's a pretty shocking story. So this is Surprise, who we met in South Africa, organised a workshop with them. And her story is very similar to many of the other residents. She comes from one of the affected frontline communities around Mogalakwena, and is one of the sort of key organisers who are in Makua. And yeah, she shows that the history of those living around the mine is littered with violent evictions, and this has been going on for generations. What we're seeing now, what I'm going to come to, is a repetition of what we've been seeing for generations of their grandparents. Next slide. But Anglo American, actually, this mine wasn't doing great. Production was going down. Anglo American was facing financial difficulties. They're actually selling off part of this mine. They're packaging it off they're going to hold, I think, 19-point-something% of it. And they were trying to be bought by BHP Billington, and now they're crowing about how great platinum is and platinum mining is, because green hydrogen, they see it as, according to their press release, a strategic opportunity to grow demand for our metals. Next slide. So why is green hydrogen saving Anglo American's minds? First of all, what the hell is green hydrogen? Does anyone know anything about it? Does anyone know where it comes from? What's it made from? Green hydrogen? No?
Electrolysis?
Electrolysis, yeah. So water, yeah. So basically green hydrogen, people have heard of hydrogen. Hydrogen gas, really flammable in the 1920s or 30s. It's now been touted, a green one, which is made from renewable electricity, which is, I guess, the key part of the green bit, is making hydrogen from renewable electricity. And so industry claims there's no emissions when you burn it. You create water vapor, it turns into H2O. So politicians, particularly in the global north, and industry, claim that it can replace coal, oil and gas. It can decarbonize our economies. Heavy industry can use it. We're going to put it in our cars, planes, trains. It's going to heat our homes, our businesses. We're going to generate electricity from it, store electricity. It's a wonder fuel, no? It's a silver bullet. So they've gone really, really big on it. And Europe, in particular, the UK as well, have got hydrogen strategies. And they claim we're going to have massive hydrogen economies. I don't think many people have heard of it, but this is what they're planning. But what's platinum's role? Does anyone know what the role of platinum is in green hydrogen or the green hydrogen economy? It came up over here. What did you say before? What did you say?
Oh, electrolysis.
Electrolysis, yes. So next slide, please. So electrolysis is how you make green hydrogen. So hydrogen comes from water, H2O, and you've got to split the H from the O, and you do that with electrolysis. You run an electrical current through it of electricity, and this thing here is called an electrolyzer. That's where you run your current through, and then you get your hydrogen and your oxygen. And in that electrolyzer, you've got platinum. It's a really important component in the main thing that makes green hydrogen. So it's also in hydrogen fuel cells. So if you're going to use hydrogen and put it in cars and stuff, you need what's called a fuel cell. So that's got lots of platinum in as well. So platinum is a key part of this green hydrogen supply chain. And South Africa has over 90% of the world's reserves of what are called platinum group metals. Sort of metals like platinum, and there's a few others sort of linked to them. And because of this hydrogen economy that Europe and the UK and others want to create, the demand is predicted to increase. So big opportunity for Anglo American and South Africa. But Europe and the UK, not yet, but it doesn't matter. Europe and the UK, problem is you make green hydrogen from renewable electricity. Europe and the UK do not have enough renewable electricity, so they're looking to countries in the global south to provide the renewable electricity, to build the hydrogen, create the hydrogen, and then to export it back to Europe. So you can already see where this is going. They're presenting it as a win-win, and South Africa, as a result, has massive green hydrogen plans. Huge green hydrogen economy, and it actually launched its plans in Glasgow at COP26, if anyone was there. Huge hydrogen economy across the country. These are all the projects that it has. Mogalakwena is up here, this sort of top right. Maybe it's even cut off the map, but yeah, it's in the sort of top right area. And it's promising low carbon development. According to the government, more than 370,000 jobs will be created by the new hydrogen economy by 2050, and it wants 4% of the global green hydrogen exports. Next slide. And locally, so the domestic media is saying this could be South Africa's next gold rush. You know, this could be the thing that really transforms their economy. Initially, this plan was for domestic consumption, low carbon development. South Africa has a big steel industry, it exports to a lot of the region, it has a car industry, it has big fossil fuels. it could clean up its own economy, but now it's all for export. It's all to send to Europe, potentially to Japan and other countries. It's not going to be for local consumption. Next slide. And the Hydrogen Valley, which is where Mogalakwena and this mine is, so it's in which the number 3 is, if it's at the top. The Hydrogen Valley has been one of the big plans of Anglo American, along with the South African government and ENGIE, the French energy company. They sort of created this plan of we're going to have a hydrogen valley and stretch all the way to the coast because that's where you export it. So they're going to mine it, the platinum. It's going to be an industrial centre there and then down to the coast, stretching 853 kilometres. So this is sort of a big plan. But Anglo American also wants to use green hydrogen to clean up its own operations. It's producing green hydrogen on site at Mogalakwena, and it's using it to power its mining trucks. You know those huge trucks that carry ore? It's now got one. It wants to take these trucks, get them off diesel, and put them onto hydrogen. It calls it a vital step towards decarbonisation, cleaning up its mining fleet. But the mining fleet, in fact, is around 0.7% to 1% of Anglo American's total emissions. So like tiny. Next. And today, how many trucks do you think they have? In total, how many trucks around the world? It's going to the whole global fleet. How many trucks do you think they have?
None.
We've got 3.
None.
We've got none. 20. 20? Just this one, actually. This is the only one. This is the prototype they've built, and they've got no others. So this big truck is going around. Well, they tried to make it go viral on the internet of how great their plans were, but this is all they've got. And actually, going to hydrogen can reduce the emissions of their truck fleet by about 80%. So that's 80% of less than 1%. So that's pretty much nothing. So it's basically a PR exercise. Hydrogen is being used as a PR exercise. And the reality for communities on the ground, next slide please. So we're involved in this workshop in South Africa and heard firsthand from communities what was going on. So Anglo American is now producing hydrogen on its site for its mining truck that we just saw. And that means installing solar panels to produce the renewables. That means people are being displaced off their land already. We were hearing communities being displaced off their land just for this solar. And whilst communities themselves are struggling to get access to electricity, they're producing solar to create green hydrogen, which is really inefficient, to put in one truck. And communities have to watch as this is all built. They don't get access to the solar, they don't get access to the hydrogen, and they continue to use paraffin and wood, which are not just costly but very polluting for lungs. In terms of water, which we said was a big problem, green hydrogen uses massive amounts of water because you have to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. So it's estimated that just in that region, which is a water scarce region, the Anglo American by 2030 will need 360 million litres of water. Huge amounts, on top of what it's using already for mining. Like a huge amount of water. So that's a big risk for the local community, which is already a dry region. And people are scared they're going to lose even more access. Next slide. So Makua themselves organised a workshop in 2024 with the local community around the mine. And people had another complaint. There were quite a few complaints going on about people not being no free, prior, informed consent. But also, one of the designated hydrogen sites was where a communal grave was, and they just removed the communal graves without. Some people actually received small amounts of compensation, others didn't even find out about it, and this often went on gender lines. So women were not consulted, were not brought in, were not given compensation. So it's really perpetuating the existing gender inequalities. And then you've got the fact that the mine is continuing. A mine that was closing down is continuing. Huge explosions that are destroying homes, leading to big cracks. The local environment, people's mental health, the huge trucks, the pollution, everything that goes with it, the water pollution, the gender-based violence that takes place around these mines. We're hearing from Surprise herself not being able to go out at night, very high levels of sexual abuse. So this is whilst Anglo American has a gender equality policy that obviously it listens to as much as its social and labour policy. And what green hydrogen is doing, I'm going to probably wrap up here. Green hydrogen is ensuring that Mogalakwena remains a sacrifice zone. These are zones that have been picked on again and again and again because the government and multinational corporations feel that they can get away with doing what they want to do. And what green hydrogen is allowing is that to continue. But of course, what we're seeing is the communities are fighting and are pushing back. And I think that's what's really key for our awareness that that green hydrogen is coming to Europe. That's where it's going. Next slide. This one. Yeah, this is basically just, it's a continuation of the same colonial extractivist models that we had with fossil fuels. It's now happening with green hydrogen. The minerals used, the water used, the land used, all to supply Europe's sort of green economy. And yeah, this transition yet again is happening off the back of those in the global south, when actually that renewable electricity should be for energy access. South Africa has huge energy access issues. Why are they using green electricity to make hydrogen to then export rather than using it for local energy access and local development? So there's a big fight for energy justice in South Africa that I advise people to find out about. I'll stop there.